Hey everybody. Okay, so let's talk just for a minute and try to give a few more clues about this whole structured building thing and where to place people and when to place people and when to move people and where do I move people and why do I move people and what do I do if I'm already really wide, or what do I do if I'm already really deep? How does it affect my structure and all of these things? And what do I do if I don't have somebody to help me figure all this out for my own team? So I can see there are a couple of people coming on here, so thank you for joining me today. I'm going to make this brief if I can, but I tend not to be the most, not short-winded person, I guess, but I'll try. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them on the comments, and I'll try to answer them, because I'll probably miss a few things here and there, and we may have to do like a part 2 or something later. So, okay, structuring. What is structuring? If you don't have an upline to help you out with this, then you can get pretty far into building before you realize that there's a way to do it faster. And so you might have heard the audio that I posted the other day. I actually did that audio like two and a half years ago. It's been a while, about deep versus wide. So a lot of times when you sign people up, you just keep people on your first level. You keep adding and adding and adding to that first level. And you don't put anybody underneath anybody else. Now, when I first joined, probably about 2 years in, a year and a half in or so, the most that my upline said about it was, and I have a very supportive upline, but the most that they said about it really was that they really recommended waiting until you have 15 people in your first level before you start placing people under somebody else. And that was pretty much it. No one ever explained why you might place somebody. Nobody ever explained where you might place them. Nobody explained what all of that meant. Nobody explained any of that to me. They just said, wait till you have 15 before you start placing people. And so the first person, well, first of all, I'm a big know-it-all. Like, I learned a lot of lessons from, no, not right now. I learned a lot of lessons from hard knocks and experience, and so I think I had probably closer to 10 people or so under me before I placed my first person, and I placed her. She was one of those people who came to me through somebody who was already a member, and what I'd been told also was that if you are helping a member sign somebody else up, that's one of their, like, if they introduce that person to Young Living, then they should get that person. And so that's what I was told, and that's really what I thought was the right answer. And even though she told me again and again, I don't think I'm cut out to be a builder, I don't want to have her under me, you take her, please. I didn't listen to any of those things. I said, no, you've got this, because everybody said, oh, they come around. So here's the first lesson. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, and sometimes they're there but in a much quieter capacity. So one of the first questions to ask when you're deciding whether or not to place somebody underneath somebody else is, how much do you want to rely on that person later on to be a leader? Okay, so if you're one of those people like Chrissy, oh, what is her name? I'm blanking on her last name. I'm so sorry. She's a diamond leader that did a whole thing about using Instagram and Facebook for her growth, you know, and she made a requirement for her leaders that she said, if I place people underneath you, you have to commit to a 300 PV order every month, and you have to understand that this is your team and you need to support them and that sort of thing. And I think Shannon Hudson has a similar conversation. So, hi Sandy. I see we have Sandy and Margaret and Liz on here. There's a fourth person, but I don't know who it is, because that one doesn't tell me for some weird reason. Sometimes they say it, sometimes they don't. So one of the first questions that you need to ask is, how invested do you think this person really is? And if they're not as invested as you thought, what are you willing to do to pick up the pieces if their people below them are not being supported by them in the way that they need? Okay, so I know I know that a lot of you on the Going Silver group here are here partly because you don't feel like you have support from your upline, or maybe you really just don't have anybody there. There's like radio silence everywhere. And so this has really become a group for some amazing cross-line support and teamwork and that sort of thing, and it's awesome. So if you're placing people underneath somebody else that's on your team, then you need to understand that there's the possibility, go get a towel, then you need to understand there's the possibility that you're setting somebody else up for that. And so you have to be ready to step into that place if that is the situation. So just be ready to keep tabs on your team is pretty much the answer there. And so that's the first question. How invested is this other person in being a leader and in being a builder? Okay. Another question to ask is, how many people do you have in your first level? And I know I kind of touched on that a minute ago, but here's the reason. When you hit silver, okay, so as you're building, right? The first time you need to worry about legs is when you're executive. You need 4,000 OGV, 2 legs at 1,000 each, right? So that's the first time that you need to worry about legs. Okay, well, when you hit silver, you need 10,000 OGV and you need 2 people at 4,000 each. And then gold goes up from there and so on and so forth, right? So here's the thing though, when you hit silver, you also need something called PGV, personal group volume. And what PGV is, it never goes above 1,000, doesn't matter which rank you are. But, okay, Pop already addressed that. So it doesn't matter which level you are. You could be Royal Crown Diamond, your PGV stays 1,000. But what PGV is you plus everybody underneath you that is not in one of your required builder legs. Does that make sense? Give me some thumbs up here or something if that makes sense to you, if you understand that. Or give me an angry face if you don't. So basically, if I have Sally and Susan and they're my 2 legs for silver and they're the 2 that I have at 4,000 each, then outside of Sally and Susan, I need to have another 1,000 as my PGV. So if you can't meet that requirement and you're pushing for silver, don't move people. Or if you can just barely meet that requirement, then don't move people underneath somebody else, because you need to make sure that you have that PGV and that it, turn that off, and that it stays at or above 1,000, okay? Or you're gonna lose your rank. It doesn't matter how much is on your legs and what your OGV is, okay? You gotta have that PGV too. So hi Susan, hi Tish, I'm glad you guys are here today. So that's another thing is when you're moving people, watch that PGV. You gotta make sure that you have enough people to offset that. A third thing to consider, okay, is, and I'll try to remember enough to give a recap here, but it's all being recorded, so it's all good. So a third thing to consider along those lines, though, is how many other legs do you already have building? If you only have 2 legs building, try to find a 3rd leg to get started. Because if you have 2 people who are actively building, you're going to need a 3rd leg to go gold or to go platinum. You need a 4th leg. But here's the big thing about both of those. Whether you plan to go past silver or not, because lots of people hit silver and they're like, you know what? This is good enough. I'm done. Okay, and the fact is, on a different topic a little bit, if you hit silver and you decide you're done and you kind of barely coast from there, it's a guarantee that first of all some of your people are going to pass you, and it's a secondary guarantee that you will lose your team over time. You just will, because you're going to get tired of supporting that and maintaining that, and they're going to get tired of feeling unsupported, so they're going to leave. So that's a different side note. But as you're building, you're going to need those legs. Oh, Susan, I hope you can catch it later on then if you don't get too much right now. So as you're building those legs, your first leg, your second leg, your third leg, on occasion, more often than we probably would like, because ever is more often than we'd like, you have legs that just fail for some reason. Like all of a sudden, and I've seen this and it's kind of crazy to me, I don't understand it, but all of a sudden a silver or even a gold will decide that they just don't even want to order anymore. It's not even worth it enough for them to make a 100 PV order to keep getting their commission check. They just stop. And so for the leader above that person, that leg is lost. It crumbles. It completely, either you have to find a way to sell it, which is again a different discussion, or it just crumbles apart and it falls apart, and then you've got to rebuild. So you want to have at least one more leg than you think you need already in the works, either for the next rank or for the possibility that something's going to go wrong. Okay, so you need that other leg. So let's talk about what happens if you have 50 people in your first level and you're at, I don't know, let's say 12,000 OGV, but your legs aren't there. How do you do that? How do you reconcile that? Okay, so let's talk about selling legs. Tish wants to know about selling legs. Maybe I'll touch on that briefly at the very end here, after we finish structured building. Okay, so if you have, let's say, 50 people, and let's say 30 of those are on Essential Rewards, so you know that they're stable for making their orders, right? And you have a couple of legs that you want to support in order to push yourself into that next level, in order to help you and help them to move towards the next rank. Here's how that happens. What you can do, if it's within the first 5 days of a new member signing up, I'm sure you already know this, but if you don't, I'm going to put it out there. If it's within the first 5 days of a new member signing up, like let's say my son Billy here signs up, and I have 5 days, that's really obnoxious. My birthday girl over there thinks that she can be rude. Okay, so if you sign somebody up, you have 5 days to call and say, I would like to place this person in this leg, underneath this person. So I'm going to make them the sponsor and I'm going to remain the enroller. Now, what does that mean? That means that I still get the $50 and the 25% for the first 3 months, but then that sponsor that I just placed them under gets the 8% commission later on, and I'll get a 5% or a 4% or whatever, okay? Yeah, you can do it by live chat, you can do it by email, you can do it by phone in the first 5 days. After the first 5 days, so day 6 through day 20, you can move them for free, it doesn't cost you anything, by email. Okay, you can email it in, say, please move this person underneath that person. It doesn't cost you anything, okay? And if the person has signed up on accident with a different team, like let's say you have a friend who calls you up and you've been talking to them for like a year and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited, I finally did it, I finally signed up for Young Living, and I'm started, and you're sitting there looking at your downline viewer and you're like, well, I don't have you on my list, so who did you sign up with? And they're like, well, I don't know, it was this person at a vendor event, but I really wanted to be with you, so how do I do that? Is it too late? The answer is no, it's not too late, but that person or the person they signed up with, that random person they met at a vendor event, one of those two people has to put in the email or make the phone call and say, can you transfer me to, say, you know, Jamie's member number? And that's how that happens. Okay, so after the first 20 days, though, what do? Then it's a little bit more complicated. So if you don't move somebody for after the first 20 days, there's paperwork involved. I know, we hate the paperwork. It's such a pain. Okay, so the kids are going to come up and say hi. Okay, so, okay, now you don't get to talk. Okay, so if it's after the first 20 days, here's what you have to do. You have to have, okay, shh, now be quiet. You have to have that person's next 3 active upline leaders sign a form that you can get on your virtual office. They sign the form, those 3 people. So, okay, let's say if you think about Young Living organizations as like a family tree, then you have to have that person's grandmother or mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother sign the form. And that person themselves, they all have to sign the form, okay? And then they have to email the form to Young Living. All right, and it's gonna take, I've seen it happen really fast, like I've seen it happen in the last couple days of the month, but typically it takes a good week or so. And here's the other thing, if it, let's say you do it on the last couple days of the month, and I'm not kidding, I don't care, I'm on, no, rude, Merwin, because that's all in the background of my video, that I'm talking to people over here. 7 kids, that's all I can say. Okay, so if, oh, thank you, Tish, I appreciate that. So if you have, I'm also gonna move my coffee out of the way of harm. So if you have somebody who is looking to transfer, or you're looking to transfer them, you also have to offer an explanation of why you're transferring them. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be this big, long, drawn-out thing. It's usually like because it's a geographical location, like maybe they're closer to this person that you're placing them under. Maybe they have a common interest. Maybe they have, I don't know, maybe they're just, you know, going to be a better support system or something like that. So you can make those transfers based on that kind of detail, right? Hey, Yona, would you give me your long cord? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. It's in my bedroom. So, so if you transfer them, and it's the last couple days of the month, to get back to my train of thought here, it like kind of derailed for a minute. Now you know why my videos are a little long. So if you are transferring them, you're in the last 2 days of the month, and you're like, oh man, is it going to count for November? Because it's already November 28th and I'm just now getting the paperwork in. Okay, here's how that happens. You're not going to see it by November 30th, because at the end of the month, that particular office is overwhelmed with emails and details and people needing transfers and all that sort of thing. And all that is done by hand by like 5 people or something. I don't know. It's not very many people. Might be a dozen. I don't know. Anyhow, it's done by a very small number of people. It's all done by email, and they are inundated with email at the last of the month. So here's what's going to happen. Over the first week of the month, they go through and they catch up on all those emails and make all those transfers and add cash credits for people and, you know, move people around and fix problems and fix commissions and all of these things, right? And so it's still going to count for your whatever rank structure thing you were trying to do in November. It's still going to count. It's retroactive to the date that the email was sent. Okay, so that part makes it a little bit, you know, kind of nice, because you can still send it in at the end and you can still get it all counted. Yeah, just wherever. And then, okay, let me make sure I've got, what else are we going to talk about here? Okay, so you can count all that out. Now, here's what I did. So give you a personal example, okay? When I really started kind of figuring all this out for my own level, for my own lines, earlier this year, I started looking around and I was like, okay, can you find the short cord? Thanks. I started looking around at my lines and I was like, okay, I have this many people that are making, say, 300 PV orders almost every month. So I had a pretty reliable 300 PV. I had a person that I wanted to support and to put into place to help reach gold. And so I took all of those. They were kind of micro orders, actually. There's probably about 7 people that were making $50 to $100 to $150 orders every month on Essential Rewards. So I knew I could count on their orders because it was Essential Rewards. And I transferred those people underneath one particular person, all in probably a 2-month span. Now, you're also going to incur a $35 fee to do that. If it's after that 20 days, it's not free. There's a $35 fee. So what's going to happen is, or what did happen is, each of those people that I moved, once they were moved, they got an email saying, okay, you have been moved and you have this $35 charge on your account now, okay? And obviously, I'm not going to make them pay for my financial benefit that way, because that's really not fair to them. So if they ask me to move and it's after 20 days, like for some weird reason, then they're going to pay it. But if I move the people for my benefit, then I'm going to pay it. And and you can only move them once for this purpose. Okay, you can't like move somebody this month and then, oh, that person's not really performing so well, so I'm going to move them over here. Not really. I'm going to move them over here. You get one shot to get them in the right place, okay? So I moved probably 5 or 6 people in the course of a couple of months. And then because it pushed my check up enough, because, you know, almost every time that I've made rank, I've doubled my check, or I've added several hundred to my check at any rate. And so I went ahead and I paid that by putting a cash credit on their account and asking that it be applied to their Either I asked Young Living to apply it to their charge, or I told them that it was there so they could tell Young Living, hey, please apply this to that charge. Okay, so that's the other thing, is make sure before you move them that they are committed to making essential reward orders, because if they're an in again, out again, I'm going to order maybe 2 or 3 times a year, maybe, don't bother to pay the $35 to move them. It's not a guaranteed thing, and it's not really, it's not something that's going to help your line overall. It's going to help your line in that moment, which is not good. Okay. And I did move one person that did end up, she left Essential Rewards after I moved her. She was kind of irritated. So I'm gonna put it all out there. You guys are gonna see all the raw stuff here. I explained it to her, what was going on. I explained why I was moving her, that it was an administrative thing that would make it so that she was being supported better, because my team was getting too big for me to support everyone. Mary, get down now. And she was still kind of irritated because she felt like it was more like just a financial move. Did it benefit me financially? Yes. But it wasn't solely for a financial move. I actually did move her closer. I moved her under somebody that was closer to her geographically, partly because I knew she was looking for local support, and she's closer than I was. So I was trying to get her some of that local support. But she got irritated for lots of things. And the person I moved her under, God bless her, she kept trying. And she kept reaching out. And she kept putting that effort in. And she kept you know, making little microphone calls. She sent little gifts, and surprise, nice surprise, the lady who was irritated has responded very positively to that, which is going to bring me to my next point. So the person who receives it's a gift. So the person who receives the gift of these placements should be somebody that you look at and you have a pretty good idea is really going to reach out and support these people and be a blessing to them and to your team, because sometimes it's necessary. So this lady so let's talk for a minute about how to decide who are we going to place under. I've talked a little bit about that up to now, but one of the other things that I've asked, or that some people, like my leader right above me, she's a platinum. One of her requirements for receiving a placement of, you know, like for her to place somebody underneath you, is that you've already signed up at least 2 of your own people. Maybe it's 1, but at least 1 or 2 of your own people. You're committed to making 100 PVER every month, and you know, you're doing some things as an active builder, that kind of thing. This particular person, at the time that I first put people underneath her, had never signed any of her own members up. And I'm going to tell you why I put people underneath her. I actually had, at that point, to be honest, I'd never met her in person. So sometimes you take a gamble and it really pays off. Or it pays off a little bit slowly. But it pays off. Here's how I met this person. She was placed under me by Young Living as an orphan. And before I even knew that she was on my team, she had sent me an email to say, hey, I need, you know, I'm here. I see that I've been placed on your group. Can you tell me how to build? And she hadn't signed anybody up, and it had been a couple years. But what she did do was she came to the classes that we had out there for building. She was active online. She has some family considerations that make it really hard for her to get out to do classes, which means that she's going to build more slowly while she finds her way of being able to do this, because she has some adoption concerns that she works with. So I knew, though, that she was at least making that effort, and I knew that she would support these people in a really good and positive way. You have to be silver to get the orphan placements? Actually, no. I started getting, the first ones I got were, I think, as an executive, and it's not something you sign up for, really. They just kind of put them under you. It's like all of a sudden you have somebody there. It's just kind of weird. So you just kind of keep an eye on your on your downline viewer, because I don't know exactly how they determine that. I used to think it was geographically, but they've placed people with me that are 2 or 3 hours away drive time that I know there's somebody closer to them. So I don't know how they determine that. Maybe they just think, hey, this person hasn't had anybody in a while. So always reach out to them. Always reach out to them and say, hey, you've been put under me. They don't always respond. They don't always respond. Most of the time, I'd say probably 90% of the time, they never message me back. They never return my phone calls. But I call them anyway because sometimes they're looking for that support. Sometimes they're looking for ideas. Sometimes they have questions. Sometimes they want to build. Okay? So, okay, Allison says it's a rotation thing. So, okay. I like being on the rotation. Sometimes I get 2 or 3 in a go, and other times I get to 1 here, 1 there. It's not a continual, consistent thing. So, but anyway, so do reach out to them. Don't always just assume. Don't always put hard and fast, rigid rules on who you're going to place underneath somebody. Because I know other people that have, like I said, they've built up to gold and then decided they're done. And you've placed all those people with them, and it hurts. Okay, so that's all I can think of right now for structured building. Did I miss anything? Is there any questions you guys have? I can't search it now. I'm on my phone watching. Yeah, so if you have questions, we can, you can ask them when it's, and I can answer them in the comments later or something like that. The other thing I'll touch on really quick, because somebody asked about it earlier, is about selling a leg. When you have somebody who is just not engaged anymore. I've done this 3 times now, I think, 2 or 3 times. Between the end of last year and the beginning of this year, we did this. It was a massive restructure in my team. So we sold 2 legs. We had a lot of transfers. We had a lot of stuff, and that's what moved me to gold, honestly. We really needed to breathe new life into the team. So I had a couple of leaders that were just not as engaged. We reached out to them and said, do you want to continue to support your people, or do you want to keep your line open and maybe consider selling your line so that you don't have to have that responsibility anymore? And 2 of them decided that they were done. And so how that works, just the nutshell version, is you have a form you have to fill out. There's a $50 fee that Young Living charges for that. They have to each write a letter to Young Living explaining why they're no longer interested in building, and on the other side, why they are interested in buying the line and what they will do to support the line. They send, and all of the final form that you fill out has to be notarized, and all of that goes to Young Living. Between the 2 individuals, the buyer and the seller, they can come up with a price. Kind of the average, I think, from what I was told, is about half of what 1 year's income is. So if they've made $5,000 that year, you can offer them $2,500, and maybe they'll take it, maybe they won't. They can say yes or no. It's a completely private transaction as far as that goes. I've heard of some people giving it up for no money. One of my people, I think, went for about half. Another one of my people, I think, went for closer to a third, because we offered her a little bit less because she had been really, truly not engaged with her team for a lot longer. So we went with a little bit less for her. So I try to kind of make it fair based on what work they did to build up to that, and how active have they been up to the point where we decided to approach them about selling. So yeah, it is entirely possible to sell legs. So if you have a leg that you're looking at that looks like it's getting kind of weak because the leader's just not there, and you can't get the leader to engage, the leader just seems kind of done, that's a question you can ask. I have another leader that I really thought she was done because she was just so busy with life and family and stuff, that I asked her about it, and she said, why would I want to do that? I said, oh, okay. I said, well, to be honest with you, if you're going to stay as if I'm going to keep considering you as one of our leg leaders and keep supporting you the way that I have, because I'd put a lot of effort into her leg, I said, I really need you either to start teaching some classes, to start coming to my classes, or I need you to at least come and take I think I told her at the time, the 30-day boot camp, Operation Silver boot camp. So do you have another leader on your team by the leg that is not being supported? You can. Here's the thing, and that's a good question. The person who buys the leg has to be somebody who doesn't have their own downline yet. They can be a longtime member, they can be a brand new member, they could be an 18-year-old. But you lose anybody who's underneath you when you make the transfer. You don't get to keep your current line and add to it with this new line. So it doesn't work that way. Okay, so yes, you want to find somebody underneath you who is ready to move up, but just understand it's got to be somebody that doesn't already have a leg. So there's a lot of people though where they'll get kind of like a stand-in, and they'll build a leg up and build it up and build it up, and then they'll transfer it or sell it to a minor child when that child hits 16 or 17. Say which again? That it has to be somebody who doesn't already have a downline? I'm totally confused. Okay, so Tish, write down which part you're confused about so that I'm tracking right here. But there are, I mean, because you can sign up at age 16, right? Or 16 or 18 or whatever. You can't have any leg. Yeah, you can't have anyone signed up underneath you when you buy somebody else's leg. So if my second leg leader is selling her leg, she's not, by the way, but if she was, the person purchasing it, the buyer, cannot have any downline members already signed up with them. So like my fifth leg, who has 2 people underneath her, maybe, I don't know how many my fifth leg has right now, but my fifth leg leader, she wants to buy a leg. She's going to lose those 2 people that are underneath her. They'll roll up to my first level. Okay, does that make more sense? So it's ideal to find somebody who doesn't already have members underneath them before you transfer them, because you can't take your members with you when you transfer. Which is another thing to mention. When you are moving people around from place to place, when you're making these transfers that we started this video with, they will lose those people. You will lose all the members that you have when you transfer. So you only want to transfer people who are ordering. Basic guidelines. You want to transfer people who are already ordering on Essential Rewards, who do not have anybody underneath them, and who are committed to sticking out for a while at least. Those are the people you want to move. The people you want to move them to are people who are committed builders, who are making regular Essential Rewards orders of their own, who are committed to supporting those members that you're putting underneath them. Okay? Because they're going to make a financial gain off of what you're doing here. All right? Reasons that you might want to make a move: to help somebody else gain a rank and make some steps forward, to help you gain a rank and make some steps forward, to support your team better through geographic to support your team better because they're better they're closer geographically, or they have common interests or something like that, because you have so many people in your first level that you can be better structured, and they'll get better support that way. There's lots of reasons that you might want to consider it. And as I mentioned in the build wide or build deep audio, same thing. There are some diamonds who never place. So like Shannon Hudson, I know, is really wide. She is super wide. And then there's others that only place. Lindsay Teague Moreno only has 7 legs. And for that PGV that I mentioned a minute ago, the 1,000 PGV, she just spends $1,000 a month. So some people only have 7 legs. Some people have 57 legs or 100 legs. I don't know. But they're super wide. So it just depends. So you think about how you want to structure your team. If you have individual specific questions like, can you help me look at these numbers because I don't have an upline to help? I can do that within the timeline of, I can help you kind of look at it a little bit within the timeline of being able to support my own team. I'm happy to chat with you about that. But hopefully for now this has been helpful, because I know I've rambled on here for probably about 20 minutes. So thanks guys for sticking with me for so long. But I hope it was helpful. Ask questions if you want and we can talk about this some more. It has certainly generated an awful lot of conversation on our page here. Where's the build wide or build deep video? I posted it yesterday. It's mostly an audio, but there's some graphics to it. It's on YouTube, but it's also, or I did post a link to it on the Going Silver group, so you can look for it there. Just yesterday, the day before. I'll get a link to the whole, I've got actually a whole a whole YouTube playlist of those types of audios, so of different topics. So if you guys want that, I can put it out there too. It used to be another Facebook group of its own that after a year of doing it, I was like, okay, I'm kind of tired now. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks for joining me this morning.